Mackenzie.
Lemar.
And Greg and Joe.
And Greg and Joe. Hi.
Hey.
Hi, friends.
Hey, guys.
From the Prime Cut podcast, we got some guests here today. They were nice enough to let us on their show. That they realized what a huge fucking mistake that was, and now they're here to avenge.
I was going to say, but somehow they came here as well. I don't know how we worked that out.
We're here to mess up your podcast. We're going to get you guys so canceled.
They lost so many subscribers after that episode, but I want to start off with a little cold open here. So we're coming to the end of Novemberg, a name that Mackenzie loves for Steven Spielberg.
Hate it so much. Hate it.
And I want to know, what is your least favorite Steven Spielberg movie?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is it
of course
worse?
There's no dumb questions here.
Or our personal least favorite?
Your personal least favorite, because I'm going to probably piss some people off with mine.
Okay,
so.
I have mine.
Oh, start us off then, Joe. Yeah.
2004. Everything was different 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie came out called The Terminal.
Ooh, interesting choice.
I find this movie reprehensible.
Okay, but tell me why, because I don't know if it's the same reason, but I also don't like it.
I just hate it. I don't know. Tom Hanks is playing like a Romanian guy, so strike one. It's just, I just don't get it. It's so heavy-handed on the message that within the first 5 minutes, you're like, I know what they want to do with this movie. And I was just like, I'm out on this. I really don't like it.
Do you think he did a better accent in The Terminal or in Elvis?
Oh man.
Oh my God.
I mean, the thing is, they're both so bad that I don't know the answer. It's questionable either way. I don't like this movie.
Fair.
That's my thing.
I also don't like this movie, and I agree. I think it's heavy-handed, but it's a hard watch too, and it's very sad. I think it's just on the whole very sad.
Yes.
There's almost like nothing uplifting about it,
Yes.
and you're like, I went through this 2 hours for no fucking payoff, and I'm just as depressed as when I started. And yeah, I was like, whew. And I know people like my mom, for example, loves that movie.
I was gonna say The
movie.
Terminal is the kind of movie that your mom watches one time and goes, "That was cute." And that's all the good feedback you ever hear
My
about
mom has
it.
watched it over and over again. She's obsessed. But I agree with you. Like, people watch it and they're like, it was so good. And I'm like, did you watch it?
I hate it.
Yeah. That's a good choice. Okay.
I don't know that it's like his worst, but I really don't like it.
Yeah, I got two that I'm not fans of. I got some problems with Spielberg. Listen.
Schindler's List was a downer.
Oh my God.
Jeez, like, why wasn't it in color? God.
I want a bad.
Oh my God.
That's a great.
It's going to be Lemar for the entire month of December. Spoiler alert.
No, the obvious choice would be Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones Crystal Skull. That movie's just horrible. Yep. And I think that it ruined the trilogy of the original Indiana Jones. They should have just left it alone. But the one I really have a problem with is AI. And I have a problem with that one because it was originally Stanley Kubrick that was doing that movie. And so it's got a really dark feel. And it's almost like with the flip of a light switch, you can feel where Spielberg picked it up, was like, okay, I'm the director now. Let's make things happy.
It's more whimsy.
Let's make it wholesome.
Yeah, it starts off real gritty and dark. And then all of a sudden it's like,
I wouldn't have hired Spielberg to follow Kubrick. That for sure would not be the move.
I would have gotten who did the Jigsaw movies, that guy. Have him take over. You finish this shit.
What a twist.
Well, I'll jump in there because I agree with Greg. Like, what my mind always goes to is Crystal Skull. I'm like, the worst. But, and this might stir the pot for today, this is kind of a close second for me. We'll get there, okay. But I don't want to give that away too soon. We haven't gotten there yet, but this is a close second for me.
I'm on board with you, Mackenzie, because I think what I'm realizing over this month is I haven't seen that many Spielberg films. I think I saw the first two Indiana Jones when I was really young, but they didn't hook me enough to make me want to see the rest. So when I heard that Crystal Skull was bad, I didn't bother seeing it. When I heard AI was bad, didn't bother seeing it. So I haven't seen that many of the notoriously bad ones. So I want to caveat with that I've only seen probably 10 Spielberg films that I know of. And I would say this is near the top of the list. On rewatch, I'm like, the second half is really good. First half's pretty fucking rough. So the only other one that I could throw in there just because I had high expectations might be Ready Player One. Not because it was terrible, but because
I feel like people loved that.
I enjoyed the book a lot. And so they couldn't do everything in the movie that they could do via writing in the book. So my expectations were super high. So personally, that one disappointed me, but I don't think it's a bad movie.
Wait. You lost me. You read a book?
I did read a book, but there were a lot of video game references.
Oh, there it is. That's why. There it is.
Do we get to talk about how great he is, though? Or are we just like punching down on Steve?
No, I love Steven Spielberg. I think he has a ton of great work. I mean, I think there's some things that are,
there's some
leave
stuff
a little
in
bit
here.
to be desired.
Like when I was looking through his filmography, I'm like, he like takes a risk, and some of them are like, ooh, not good. But then he has 3 that you're like, those all are fucking awesome.
Those are all fucking good. Yeah.
And then you're like, all right,
agree.
I get to like take a risk, and then you're like, ooh. Maybe
I admire that too. Of like,
I'm gonna go back to my safe space. I like that he does it, but I mean, he's unbelievable.
He's at his best when he's making accessible films, like where it's like not quite slice of life, but it's just the kind of shit that 70% of Americans are going to be down to watch and enjoy. Like that's peak Spielberg, and he does. I credit him for taking risks, like you said, Joe, of going outside the box on occasion, but typically I do finally after this month have a vibe for what Spielberg's style is. And it's like, it's almost like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like there's gotta be a quip every 90 seconds. There's gotta be a joke to keep things light. Like that is Spielberg, right?
Yeah. And I think like if the thing that I think is so interesting about him, and I hope I'm not like getting off the beaten path of what we're doing in our podcast today.
Have a great time, Joe.
Well, if he only looked at, let's say you took 3 movies that he made, Jaws, E.T., and Jurassic Park. If he only made those 3 movies, you'd be like, this guy is an American.
Is fucking incredible. Yeah, he's a legend.
And he made one of those movies 50 years ago. And you're like, holy shit. So I don't know. I think I have some major problems with like what he's doing later, but that's because it's like, I don't know, maybe he's just like bored and wants to try other stuff and do.
He's fucking around and he's finding out a little, but he's fucking around.
For sure. So that's all I want to talk more about some of his movies before we get to this movie, but man, I'm just in looking for this because I knew that you guys were going to ask us, spoiler alert to the audience, you told us pick your worst Spielberg movie before we started.
We did.
And so I was like looking through, I'm like, holy shit, fucking Schindler's List, Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Minority Report.
It's hard to find some really bad ones. Yeah, I agree. Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Totally.
Yeah. For the record, when we said, pick your least favorite Spielberg, I don't think there's one that I've seen that I would rate under a 5. Yeah. None of them are horrible.
There's none that are like, don't see it all.
I haven't seen War of the Worlds. I haven't seen that other Indiana Jones, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So I can't speak to those, but nothing is.
I mean, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you could pass on, I think, personally, but but the other ones I think could be, on the whole, I think are worth a watch personally. So
there's parts of it that are cool.
Yeah, there's there's cool effects, like anything. Like you can have a cool sequence here and there, but on the whole, I think it's a bad movie. Yeah,
it's bad.
Right, thanks for indulging me, y'all.
Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lemar.
Plus guests. Greg, Joe.
Howdy. How many of these drinks was I supposed to have before we started the episode?
You have to do at least 3. Have you done at least 3?
I think I misread the instructions.
In which case, this is going to make for a great episode, and I could not be more thrilled. I'm here for it. Well, we're continuing Spielberg month, and we thought you guys would be a great addition. I'm sorry. Novemberg. I keep resisting this with gusto. I'm only agreeing to it because I haven't come up with anything better, but I really hate it. So
month's almost over though.
It's almost over. I swear it's going to come to me like this is basically the last one. It's going to come to me when we're done recording.
I was going to say this will come out like the day before Thanksgiving. So I'm thankful that Mackenzie hasn't thought of a better name for November this whole month.
Don't think that I won't go in and fucking lay it down if I do come up with one, because I will. But for now, under duress, Novemberg continues with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which we thought would be a great one for you guys to join with. And we did, again, do some cocktails that were on theme. So yes, I want to know what everybody picked. So Greg, which one did you pick?
What were we calling this one? The Blood of Kali?
There's Blood of Kali, there's Pancot Palace Water, and there's the Black Sleep. So
so I made the first one.
Okay. See,
I don't have a jigger, and I was using shot glasses, and then I researched how much liquid a shot glass holds afterwards.
Right? Yeah.
It turns out a shot glass is more than...
Sometimes it's an ounce, but not always.
Yeah. And so it's great.
Greg's having a good time.
I'm with Greg though. I was reading the instructions. It's like ounces. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to eyeball this. So
you're just going to wing it. There you go. Joe, you did the same thing. You did Blood of Kali as well.
Okay. Yeah, so that one, guys, if you're wondering out there, is 2 ounces of bourbon, half an ounce of Aperol, half an ounce of OJ. It also says you could use mandarin or orange bitters. That seems like a lot of bitters. I'm not going to do half an ounce of
mandarin juice and orange bitters. Yeah. I mean, it's too much for you.
Not half an ounce of one or the other.
Right. Instead of OJ. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup to give a little bit of sweetness.
So which one did you do, Lemar?
Yeah. So I did the Pancot Palace Water. Which is
literally the one I made for you, by the way. You're welcome. I created that cocktail in your interest. I hope you love it. Okay. What's in it?
2 ounces of Blanco tequila, 0.75 ounces of lime juice, Blanco, and then an ounce of pomegranate juice. And then you top it off with soda. Pretty damn good.
But did you garnish it with a lime wheel as instructed?
No, I don't own lime wheels.
It's a lime wheel, like a slice
to save your life.
Not a wedge, I guess. A wheel of.
I guess it's like 2 wedges, right? Okay. 2 wedges make a wheel.
I think you have to cut the whole circle.
The whole circle. As you can tell, we don't do drinks on our podcast. Way too much and creativity. So.
We kicked around some other ideas. We talked about doing sandwiches on the podcast, but
I felt like that wouldn't land.
A lot of things.
We eat and we watch things.
We eat and we watch things.
I feel like if you did that, like half the podcast would just be them saying, well, what do you think, Greg? And you going,
yeah.
Hold on one second.
Chewing.
Yeah, we quickly discovered that. Yeah.
Well, in the interest of doing multiple drinks and the fact that I provided so many, I thought we were going to be chatting for a hot minute. So I figured I might need 2 drinks. So I made 2. So I did do the Blood of Kali in my very appropriate skeleton low ball. And then I also did the Black Sleep, which I also designed. This one is 2 ounces of Citron vodka, an ounce of coffee liqueur. I use Mr. Black, which is excellent. And then a half ounce of liquor 43, and is supposed to have a maraschino cherry garnish, which I totes forgot. So anyway, moving on. Cheers, y'all. Thanks for
yours.
Yeah, chin chin, huh?
Chin chin.
And I was actually going to sort of return the favor that these guys did for us. So do you guys want to speak at all real quick about your pod? I know we do similar subject matter, but yeah, you want to do a little pitch here?
Greg, you want me to do it? You want
we actually we practice this like an answering machine. So
yeah,
I like that Joe's like, do you want to do it? And Greg's like, we practice.
We already practice this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
So you can find us on Instagram, Prime Cut Podcast. You can find us on TikTok, Prime Cut Podcast. You can find us on Gmail, the Prime Cut Podcast at Gmail.
This is going great.
Yeah,
don't forget that.
Nailing it.
Yeah, it's
selling it really.
The repetitiveness of the word here, and that will help people remember. Anyways, Joe, you tell the people what we cover there.
Yeah, so we basically divide our viewing selections into 3 categories: forgotten gems.
Flawed gems.
You practice this, you guys? Y'all practice
usually
this.
We're like on it. Flawed gems, forgotten masterpieces, and deep cuts.
It's the drinks.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the drinks that are getting to you. Okay, wait, sorry. Hit us with the 3 categories again, because I think they're great, actually.
Flawed gem, forgotten masterpiece, deep cut. So the idea is like, we're not going to look at a roundly admired perfect movie. And so this movie...
I think the perfect example would be like...
I was going to say, which of the 3 does this fall into for you guys?
Look, I feel like...
Wait. Save that for the end. Okay. Save that for the end, because I feel like it'll come to you. I feel like I think the discussion will inform that. No, because I want to think about that too.
That's fair. I think that another good example would be, for instance, we would never do Terminator 2, but we would do Terminator 1
or Terminator Salvation.
Well,
I like Salvation now. Easy there. Terminator 1, the superior film. I know I'm going to catch some shit. It's better than 2. Sorry,
but we would never do 2. Everyone's knows
like, "Oh, Terminator 2, it's a classic." You're like, yeah, okay, 1's better. Here's why. That sort of thing.
Well, to reuse a word from earlier about Spielberg, like T2 is just more accessible. It is the more likable, enjoyable film, whereas 1 reads more like a horror movie, honestly, than an action film.
No. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So Greg, that's a good way to do it. The primecutpodcast@gmail.com. That's our email address. We take suggestions there. We take questions there. Greg's on TikTok. I don't run the TikTok. Search for Prime Cut Podcast. There you go.
Well, I like it. Listen to these guys. It's a good time. And if nothing else, listen to our ep with them, because that was an even better time.
Really fun.
We had a great time.
Dude, we had a blast. And
we did.
Honestly, having y'all on today, I kind of sighed because it was so much easier going on to someone else's podcast where I didn't have to organize shit. I was just like, oh, I can just add color and give my opinion. I don't have to be the one doing all the research. And then today I was like, God damn it, I have to work again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had that same revelation that you had, Lamar. I was like, whoa, I don't have to do as much work.
I can just give my opinion on like things they're talking. Oh, great. Yeah.
This is nice.
Well, I will say I want us to have the most time to talk about the movie, so I did truncate quite a bit our usual shtick. So let's blow through that real quick because I want us to just chat it up, Buttercup. So I'm not going to get into like all the shit that all the cast and crew have done before. We're going to just blow through naming some names, and hopefully you recognize them, and some of them you won't. Have a great time. But as we know, we're talking about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. 1984. It is rated great year. It's Lamar's favorite year. It's 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, and on Rotten Tomatoes it's 77% with critics, which I take umbrage with, and 82% for audiences. So overall, very well liked film is what we would say here for sure. Directed obviously by Mr. Steven Spielberg, who's done a bunch of things, and this is quite the writing team that we have involved here. The story is by Mr. George Lucas, so and you feel that
he's done other stuff.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He's done a couple things. Like he's all right. I think he's known at this point. He's done a couple.
I think he wrote the second Ant-Man.
Yeah, feels right. Sure.
That was good.
We also have a screenplay done by Willard Huyck. Oh, I probably butchered that, but that guy.
Like Huyck.
Huyck? That feels right.
If it were HY, I would say Hyuk, but it's not.
Well, it's the YCK that's supposed to be like a sh sound or something.
I don't know that anybody's talking about Richard right now, so he's getting good press just from butchering his name.
You mean Willard?
Yeah,
he's getting
Richard,
good press. Willard's getting good.
Exactly. No one is talking about Richard right now, Joe.
He's getting some attention now for sure. Also, Gloria Katz helped out.
They are a married couple. I learned. Yeah. I went into a little bit of a deep dive. Those two wrote Howard the Duck. And then all three of these folks wrote American Graffiti. I think they're just buddy with George Lucas is the long and short of it.
Hold on, Joe's throwing shade at Howard over here.
God, he's brought it up so many times. It's so bad. Go on.
Movie rules. Except for the duck sex part. That's a little weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff.
Every movie that's taken that
duck
risk,
sex on my bingo card today.
Duck sex in it has, it's a struggle. We're not there yet as a society.
It's a long list.
I didn't know we would be talking about that today. I'm going to be honest with you. I was not prepared. Whew. Okay, major cast and crew. Again, going to blow through some of these folks, and I'm not going to even say all of them because there are so many. But we, of course, have Mr. Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. We have Kate Capshaw as Willie Scott, the most annoying person I've ever encountered. Ke Huy Quan, who plays Short Round, who has come back to acting after many, many years.
Oscar winner, motherfucker.
Oscar winner now. Yeah, well deserved if you haven't seen that as well. Very good job. Amrish Puri, who plays Mola Ram. Roshan Seth, Chatar Law. Philip Stone, Captain Blumbert. What a weird name, I think. Roy Chow, who plays Lao Che. David Yip, Wu Han, Rick Young, Cao Kahn, Philip Tan, Chief Henchman. That's my favorite part. Chief Henchman.
I like that you called out Chief Henchman. Yes.
Credited appropriately. Yep. And then, of course, Mr. Dan Aykroyd, who's here for about 3.5 seconds, and it still makes me happy as Weber walking them to the plane. So had to give him his due. And then my favorite thing about this entire month is I've gotten to say this now 4 times. The music is done by Mr. John fucking Williams and is, as per usual, incredible. Right. So it's kind of my fave. Yeah.
I think he does a good job here of like, he's taking the indie theme music from the first one and he's adapting it to be in this setting. And we know this wasn't actually filmed in India, but he's putting that Bollywood sound to the score, which I think
Joe, did you not know that? You just found that out? You had no idea.
It turns out people don't love stereotypes of their country. No, they don't want you to film there.
Which is about a third of this movie.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna give a really quick plot summary and then we're just gonna blow and go, y'all. So very simple. In 1935, Indiana Jones is tasked by Indian villagers with reclaiming a rock stolen from them by a secret cult beneath the catacombs of an ancient palace. So shit goes down, basically, Indiana Jones style. So
I hate when people steal my rocks.
I mean,
good premise.
Everybody has a favorite rock, don't they?
But like, I'm not the big. I mean, we said this in the intro. I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones guy, but I like the fact that they embrace that sort of magic and sorcery. These are real things in these movies. Because doesn't the treasure chest melt the Nazis' faces in the first one? And in this one, it turns out that they are magical. They are helping this land. It's not just a religion or a superstition. The land is thriving because, spoiler alert, they get the rock back at the end, right?
Yeah. And Lemar,
I mean,
I am an Indiana Jones guy.
Okay.
So there's themes and mechanisms that they use. And you're right. They pull that hard. I feel like they get more and more fantastical, which actually, as the movies go on, which actually degrades the series, in my opinion.
I agree.
And I think this is the start of like, really, let's push it even further. And it's just like, okay.
Wait, the start. This is the second movie.
Right. But the first movie is like, there's a little bit of it, but it's not crazy. And you're like, well, Nazis are evil. God is not evil. God is going to vanquish Nazis. Like, you kind of make that connection. This is like, okay, we're doing a lot of the heart ripping and the chanting and okay. And then it's just like, then you're in to like time travel and it's a lot.
Yeah. You know, I agree with you though. So like the way I see it is that this is like, initially, at least it was this trilogy, right? It's like first, second, third, this is second in the trilogy. And what always happens with trilogies, at least almost always for me, is that the second is like a dip.
Sophomore album.
Because everything that worked about the first one, they tried too hard to do in the second one. And like, this is so emblematic of that, of like everything that was good about Raiders of the Lost Ark, it went too hard in this one and it became a caricature of itself. And like, that's my biggest complaint watching this whole film. And I feel like they recover a little in the third as well. It's like they learn their lesson a little bit of like, we went too hard in the second one and the third one gets a little better and kind of, evens out. But this second one is like, to me, it's that like typical second in the trilogy trauma every time.
Yeah. And that's interesting you said that, because when I was watching this, Mackenzie, there's parts of it where I was like, am I comparing this too much to Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I think is a perfect action movie?
Fundamentally an incredible
I think
film.
it's like a top 5 action movie and maybe like a top 15 movie, seriously. Like how it all ties together. Every 10 minutes something happens. The stunts are amazing. The set pieces are great. There's funny lines. So
it has like a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think,
amazing.
Y'all. Like it's universally beloved.
So I do think you're right. It's like both in the production of the second movie, they're like, we got to get back to where we were with this movie 3 years ago. Let's keep it going. They probably err on the side of too much, but then also I think the audience is like, it's never going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. It just isn't.
No.
And look, Indy's better when he's fighting Nazis. Those are the best ones.
He is. Those are the best ones. And I think, like, again, you see that come back in Last Crusade. Yep. And Last Crusade is, of course, not as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark either, I don't think. But, like, it benefits so much from, one, that story being rejiggered, but two, like, of course, Sean Connery coming in hot. But to me, this is the dip. Yes. In the series, in that, like, original trilogy for me. And again, to your point, Lemar, like, there are so many things that do not hold up, like that do not hold water anymore. Like, we're celebrating British colonialism at multiple points in this film, and somehow they're the heroes at the end, and she's like, it's about time, and like, I just was like, this is so wrong, this is so fucked up now.
With that in mind, I mean, this just goes to show how, even with Hook, when we talked about it last week, and how I loved it as a kid, and as an adult, a lot of things stood out to me as not being great. And it's the same with this one. So the first thing I want to call out is, as a kid, I had no idea this was supposed to take place in 1935. I just thought this was modern day. Like, this is what people are doing in 1984 in India, I assume. So
you didn't think it looked different at all? It was
at the end of the day, I'm ignorant. Okay, I'm an ignorant American, and I thought this is what life is like in India. There's temples everywhere, and so I get why they didn't want to record this there.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I know you're joking, but like, that is one of the big complaints about this film, is that it gave a really false perception to non-Indian people about what it's like to be an Indian. It became like almost accepted, right? Like, the whole food scene, it's of course, number one, inaccurate about Indian cuisine, and it's grotesque. Like, it's grotesque to watch, and it becomes this running joke, and it's like making fun of their culture, and it's making them look ridiculous, and it's really hard to watch for a number of reasons, not just because it's gross.
And so I think that I thought that that has struck me very much when I was watching that. We're othering this society, this entire
culture. Yeah.
I did think, okay, are they trying to make this, because the Indiana Jones series is like supposed to be this like Buckaroo Banzai, like serial thing that took place in this certain time period, are they making it fantastical? Is that their goal? Because I don't feel that Spielberg is overall like an overtly racist, or even a like below the surface racist or tropey guy.
No,
but it did feel like at the time it was acceptable, or it was considered like normal to make a movie like this with that undertone.
Yeah.
Just because that's how we looked at things, I guess. I don't know, because you're right. It's just like leaving out that all the othering, it just doesn't work. That's the other thing. Is like, it's bad.
Yeah.
There's like 30 minutes of this movie that
and it's
sucks.
Funny. There are a solid 30 minutes that are just bad filmmaking. Yes. Like, it's not good. And this is one of them. And I think it's funny you say that, because the guy who plays Chittar, I think it's Roshan Seth, he actually said, because I was doing a deep dive on this too, I was like, how did they feel working on this film? Like, that's just wild to watch this. And he said something about that scene specifically, and said that it was a joke that didn't land, because again, he's like, I don't think Steven's like a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He's like, I think Steven intended this as a joke, and the joke was that Indians are so smart that they know that Westerners see them this way, and they think that Indians eat cockroaches and bugs and all this crap, and they served them what they expected, and the joke was too subtle for the film.
How do you get that? I don't buy it.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But two, I'm also like, they don't show anyone but the Indian people eating the food.
Terrible.
So that's like, to me, like, that doesn't work. If that's the joke, it doesn't work.
Well, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I think that's just Spielberg backpedaling on the reception of the movie when it came out. Whenever, it was like, no, it was a joke, I swear. And that's just basically not owning that he made a slightly racist movie.
Well, apparently,
baby snakes. Like, it's really
the actual writing of that scene and the purpose of that scene, this is based on a single interview that I read, was that they were like, okay, there's a lot of exposition in this dinner scene. We need to keep American audiences glued to the screen. Like, how do we keep them from getting bored during this 5-minute dialogue sequence? So they tasked the writers with like, hey, we don't have a ton of budget, but how can we make this scene eye-grabbing? And they went, well, what if we put these really crazy things that they're eating? And again, me as a kid, I was like, oh, when the eels come out of the snake.
Snake surprise.
Like, they're not eels, they're baby snakes. They just cut open a pregnant snake.
The other snake. I didn't know that's how snakes give birth, but I learned something today. When that happens, or like the monkey brains or the bugs, like all of that, as a kid, I was like, holy shit. And granted, it was turning me into a closet racist, turns out, but it got my attention, right? So like, that's how that scene actually got made.
Yeah, I looked back to see if there was like, was this like am I missing a slice of American filmmaking where there was like a bunch of like gross out humor or weird horror stuff at this time, and it kind of, but not really. And so I think you're right.
Not in this
like
way,
it makes total sense, Lemar, that's at least some version of why they tried to put that in here. It's just like, what the fuck is this?
But you know what it does remind me of actually is the Gremlins came out like within 2 weeks of this film, and it has a couple of those things as well, where it's like othering, it's making certain things really grotesque. There's some scenes that are really brutal to watch. And this film and Gremlins like incited a lot of chaos about this PG rating is not legit. Like, look at all the crazy things you're making us watch. And Spielberg is legendary for recommending like, hey, there should be something between PG and rated R. And it does, it gets adjusted to being a PG-13 film. But I do think to some degree it was kind of timely. Like, this was happening in filmmaking at the time of like the othering and the like the over dramatization and the grotesque visuals of what these things that you don't understand might look like, and making them look really gross and weird. But it does, like, it's very hard to rewatch. And I also think that whole scene, to your point about like the filmmaking itself, it doesn't land because Lemar, you mentioned like the exposition of it all is really kind of truncated. Actually, they are trying to do a lot in one little bitty scene. Like, they're trying to create a lot of conflict there.
There's like 4 different exposition scenes within this that I just like, oh my goodness. Like, it feels like, I don't want to completely critique the shit out of this film, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. So
I'll defend it a little bit. Go on.
Okay.
Don't worry.
If you love Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but you think the new Fast and Furious films are terrible, schlocky, I got news for you. They're the same fucking thing, because it is like unearned.
I feel like you just stirred a fucking pot, and I am here for it.
Action set piece after action set piece with the slightest bit of plot tying them together and a lot of exposition in between. Like, this is, I'm not saying, again, it is not under a 5 in my rating scale. It's not a bad film, but it's highly average to me.
Hold on. I've had 5 of these drinks, and you used
already. Damn, he's moving fast.
You used a lot of words there, Lemar. I need you to summarize. Are you for Fast and the Furious or against it?
I'm against.
We're back,
because
Lemar. We're back.
It's like, if you're gonna suspend disbelief, then it's the thing is, I'm not in the target market. There are people who can watch an action film and completely suspend disbelief of like, this raft can jump out of a plane and land on a mountain flat and they not die. They just slide down the mountain. Same thing with Fast and Furious. If you're willing to suspend the disbelief of physics, so be it, but it's just not my kind of film.
You know, it's really starting to sound like you don't really care about family, Lemar.
Oh my God.
I love my family, Greg, and if you were here right now, I would strike you so hard.
I would hand you a Corona and we would bond.
Damn it, he one-upped me. Okay.
Oh, I'm dying, y'all. I can't.
Hey, well, can I defend a little bit here? A couple things. Number one, if this was not made by Steven Spielberg, this movie would be far worse than it is. He is really good. He is extremely talented. I feel like his action is like rough and tumble, but awesome. I know exactly what's happening. I love practical. This is a hobby horse. I'm going to talk about it a lot. Greg is eating something right now, and he's just nodding along because he knows what I'm going to say.
Because we eat and we watch things, apparently.
Well, we tried the sandwich thing. It didn't work. But anyway, practical action is my thing. Practical effects / practical action is my thing. I love it. It makes me happy. These first 2 movies, especially the first 2 of the trilogy, the original trilogy in the Indiana Jones series, are very much practical when it comes to the action, which I think is so great. I can't even talk about how great it is. I love it.
I love practical action. I agree with you, but amazing. I would challenge you there on this. Though,
There's parts that aren't. There's parts that aren't.
There's parts that are do not
for
work,
sure
do not hold up.
However, there are little things like the dissolve from the Paramount Pictures mountain logo into the, in this case, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's the mountain that he's the hill where they're in South America. In this one, it's like the big gong. There's like a mountain that's embossed on the gong and it dissolves. That's fucking awesome. That is like filmmaking. That's incredible.
I also the dancer, the Willie at the beginning standing in front of the title card. I thought that was cool looking. Like, I hadn't seen a lot of movies up to that point doing that.
So I love the comically large bat that they find in the jungle.
Huge bat.
It's plural.
We got 3 out of 3 so far.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's cool.
This is a rave review, actually, is what I'm hearing.
I do love these like cold open to the Indiana Jones like action set piece that he has, where they're completely unconnected, or they become connected, but you have no knowledge of what's happening once the movie starts, and there's going to be several minutes of a setup, a conclusion that is going to maybe propel the movie forward, or it's just going to be some background. I think this one is awesome. I love this one. He's in the Shanghai nightclub. We get the dancers. They're trying to do this deal. I like that there's these pieces of the indie lore that you don't know, but you're on board with immediately. Like his waiter friend. That guy's not in any of the other movies. He's in this movie for 5 minutes, but you're like, oh my God.
Wuhan. We barely knew him.
But he's a long-time friend. He's his homie. Yeah.
Indy's like upset. Oh, I love it.
And you somehow like have this moment immediately of like, oh my God, like his friend just died.
I personally felt the opposite.
Oh no.
At least on rewatch. I was like,
so you don't have feelings as well.
It feels very, you remember, like, I've complained about Forrest Gump on this podcast before, of how it's just like, look, everybody I care for dies. Like, isn't that a great way to...
This is not a safe space to complain about Forrest Gump. I just want you to know.
But this character that it's like, hey, this is a good friend of mine. Oh, he's dead. You should feel bad. Should I? I didn't know that guy. You just told me he was cool.
I like it. Here, first of all, I hate Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
So, Lemar, you and I are the
same. I thought we were on the same
Usually
team
we are,
today.
but man, Forrest Gump is garbage. Sorry.
Oh, hate it. I can't. Let's move on. We don't want to fight. We don't want to fight.
Ke Huy Quan owns this movie.
Oh, 100%.
He's the real hero.
Short Round.
Do you know what he is? He's the mini
Short
indie.
Round,
He's awesome.
Short Round.
And
he's a miniature indie.
Their relationship is awesome. I love it.
So sweet, so wholesome. I love how he tells him multiple times, like, I love you, Indy. He admires him, but somehow is also like kind of a bro, even though he's a kid, right? Like, he like when he's going to the room to hook up with Kate Capshaw's character, Willie, he's like, let me know how it goes. You better be just saying hi, but like, let me know how it goes, bro. It's great. This weird relationship that like crosses these very different lines, and you are somehow like, it just works. It works 100% of the time. He saves him. Like, I remember when he burns him later.
Awesome.
I'm like, it's not true love's kiss. It's true love's burn. You know what I mean? Like, he rescues him.
He hugs him and he's like,
this burn.
He's like, Indy, my friend. I'm like, this kid. I love this kid.
I fucking love this kid. Great. I also love that he is his own little nemesis as well in the Maharaja. Yeah. He's like, I will fuck shit up all by my lonesome. Yeah. Like, yeah, you can give me an axe. I'm going to break out of these chains. Like, fuck you very much. I love this kid. He is the best part of this movie. 100%.
I saw how he got the role. It was actually his brother trying out for the role of Short Round.
Kind of fucked up, right?
Oh, really?
And he just like,
do they still talk? Let's find out. Well, I'm curious.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Greg, go ahead. Tell the story.
Like, basically, his brother was the one that was trying out for the role, and he was giving his brother advice, telling him how to do the role, and the casting director was like, hold on, and pushed his big brother away. Was like, you come here. And
I believe it.
And it's actually the start of how we got the Fast and the Furious French. We'll get back to that later, but anyways, I gotta point something out that I saw in the opening credits here. In that big fight scene in the beginning when they're in the club, there's a point where Indy punches a woman in the face,
but he's got the poison on him. He does punch,
but he punches the waitress, like clocks this woman.
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, damn.
Straight up.
And
I actually missed that. Yeah. Wow, I would have been really salty about that.
You know when
do you think that they could ever do that now?
I think actually you could probably do that now better than you could then, to be honest.
What, like drop kicker or something?
No, I just mean like I think you can, all things being equal, I feel like if depending on a fight in the battle, like I feel like certain.
Well,
I feel like I saw this
though.
recently. Actually,
hold on. So
well, bystander, yes. I mean, if you're actually battling a woman, you could
bets her off
like a
that's what Indy's friend grabs her arms and then Indy just starts teeing off on her.
No. Okay,
yeah.
Y'all, I'm gonna lose my feminist card if y'all keep talking. That's not what I meant.
No.
You
don't want to pitch that.
Well, so wait. So I must have missed this. I was probably taking notes during this opening sequence.
I must have as well.
Is it played for laughs? Like, is it meant that he's distorted and he like
kind of
throws a punch?
Did he not see her, or he knows it's a woman and he punches her anyway?
Okay, so remember he drinks the poison, and he trades back the big rock, the big diamond, in order to get the antidote, and they don't give it to him. So he's starting to feel the poison. He spends the next few minutes kind of like stumbling around. It's in that sequence that he is looking for the poison, and he accidentally kind of punches her in the face.
But it seems like it's an accident.
Likely story.
You sound like the lawyer defending Indiana Jones.
It's assault.
He kind of accidentally punched her.
He lightly assaulted her. It was not a big deal, you know. Yeah.
I mean, the short round thing, to close the loop here, I'm reading right now. April 5, 2022, the New York Times interviewed Ke Huy Quan for Everything, Anything, Everywhere, All
Everywhere, All at Once.
I did watch it. It's good.
Yes, great movie.
This is his quote on Harrison Ford. He was an amazing guy, so down to earth, so humble, and really generous as an actor. And he taught me how to swim. We were just hanging out at the swimming pool in Sri Lanka in our hotel, and he says, "Ke, do you know how to swim?" I didn't, so he says, "Come on, let me teach you." And I think that obvious off-screen like friendship mentor thing is.
You're just trying to make me cry now.
I was going to say, like, I'm getting emotional. That is so sweet.
It's really great. And you can tell that
and it shows.
The other thing is, why didn't Short Round and Indy have 5 other movies? Maybe he grew up too fast.
That's the thing. I don't know, but I agree with you, because he could have totally been in Last Crusade. Sure. He could have come in late. Like, he could have absolutely been such a great addition to that. And again, I think, like, I just see him and I'm like, he's a mini Indy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's trying to emulate his hero and his best friend, and he's doing a great fucking job of it. Like, he should be his little wingman.
And they're kind of equals, 100%. Which I really like, that Indy knows that he's a kid, but he's also like, he's super capable. I trust him. I don't know. I really like that. They're great chemistry.
He says to her, protect her, take care of her. Like, he totally trusts him to do that.
And I'm glad
that
you said her, Mackenzie, because that brings us to the third person of the cast who there really isn't any chemistry, and it's not her fault.
No fucking chemistry. Thank you so much for saying that. There's none.
Who I like. I think she's a good actor, but man, she's not good at this.
In this, it is so bad. She is bad in this, and they don't have chemistry.
And her character
she is not a bad actress.
Her character's bad.
Her character is bad. The writing of her character, and that's one of the things that pisses me off about this movie. There is, like, I'm sorry, your misogyny is showing in the writing of this female character. It really is. And I'm not attacking Steven Spielberg. Number one, he's not the writer. Number two, I don't think that that's how that was intended, but she reads as annoying and shrill and entitled and incapable, and she's fucking awful. The whole movie, she's fucking awful. And I think it's such an oversimplification of literally any woman. I don't care if she's a showgirl, the way that they show her at the beginning of this, like, to assume that women and represent women as being this incapable in this context and being so annoying is so frustrating to me the whole time.
I think that's a product, though, of the fact that this is the second film. It's a prequel. And I think it was a logical decision where they said, we want this to kind of be a James Bond-esque franchise where there's going to be a new female lead who the lead romances every single movie. And that's kind of what you get, is we know this isn't gonna, okay, she's here for this one, and next sequel she's got to be expendable because we need a new
But again,
young,
shouldn't they have
female.
Some kind of chemistry? They have none.
I totally agree with that. It's part of it's the writing too, right?
Even,
like they have
the writing between them is like does not lend itself to creating chemistry, is what I'm saying. Like they have shitty lines between each other, they have shitty interactions with each other.
85% of her dialogue just
doesn't
screaming.
land. It's exactly, and I was like, this is one of these representations of women on film that make people think that women are just shrill and loud and annoying and all these things, and it's bullshit. But she is written so poorly. And I take umbrage with that.
Was even quoted as saying that, right? Like she was like, I'm basically just a dumb screaming blonde.
But how do you go to this from Raiders in the Lost Ark where you have this really compelling female lead?
Yeah, Marion's awesome.
Who, yes, Marion's fucking awesome, and she's interesting and she challenges Indy, and like that is the formula that worked. This one is, like you said, Lemar, just a James Bond bimbo, which I know that worked in certain contexts, but like it doesn't work here, and it also doesn't seem like something that an Indy would be attracted to anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's an attraction of convenience, is what I'm saying. Like there's no women inside I'm gonna latch onto this.
What they should have done is just not have a romantic counterpart and have.
No, because short round is perfect. Honestly,
short round is
all you need.
Exactly. He's so good. They're a great team. Just don't have Indy banging anybody in this movie, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Although I will say, when they're stuck in the room with the spikes coming down.
Oh my God, we went to the same place, Joe.
Funny.
I was totally
I'm sorry.
thinking of that.
There's the exchanges I found hilarious.
Okay, my favorite quote from the whole movie is, so they're in that room and the spikes are coming down, they're locked in, and he's calling for her to come save them. And she's like freaking out because of all the bugs,
which is stupid.
And she's putting her hand in the wrong hole to like try and pull the lever. And he goes, "We are going to die."
And he does the wide eyes. Yeah.
Also,
as like the spike is
which
coming
are the
down,
Harrison Ford wide eyes.
I also like
that scene right there. I
also liked when he's trying to get her to do it. And you see from her perspective the wall with the gaps in the wall, and his fist comes through, and he's like, "Do it now!" I did like that.
That was good. That just shows that Harrison Ford can act with just his fist.
Yes.
100%. But I love that scene. And like, to be fair, like, let's all empathize for a quick second. These are huge, giant, horrible bugs. And I am not like a weird, like, I will kill a spider myself if I need to, or actually I'll just set it free because I'm not a monster. But I just mean, like, I'm not afraid of bugs. These are huge fucking bugs. Like, it is pretty horrible to have these things crawling all over you. So I just want to give her a little bit of grace there. But so the whole thing, go ahead.
They actually covered her in all of those bugs. And she had to take a sedative to be able to do that scene.
That sounds horrible.
Well, because yes, it would be horrifying to have these things crawling all over you for real. Like, I totally get that. But I also thought, like, I would not want my life in this woman's hands. I'm just be honest. Like, if I'm about to die and this bitch has to get her arm through this wall to pull this lever, like, I'm dying. I'm going to die. I think the fact that she got through it was shocking to me.
Mackenzie,
like, I did not think it was going to go well.
I think that's a great point. And this is where I think I think this is part of the Spielberg discussion that we should have, which is like, in the hands of someone less technical and talented, this scene, exactly what you just talked about, does not have any gravity, and it's not very well done. But I've seen this movie before, and I was like, how are they getting out of this again? Even down to when his hat is still in the room and he has to grab it.
Yes, and he snatches it out.
Spielberg he puts these characters into like a cascading sequences where it's like, it's this, and then it's this, and then it's this, and then you think they're okay, but they're not. And even in this part where it's like, not well done, we don't like one of the characters, she's not written well, it's somewhat irritating, and it still is like pretty captivating how he gets it to work. And I think that's because he's very good at this stuff.
It's so funny you say that, because the whole time I was thinking, and I was so fucking annoyed, of course, but I will say, I was like, this is still very suspenseful. You feel the pressure of it, you feel the intensity of it, even while you're being frustrated by it, because again, I think it is his ability to make it still put you on the edge of your seat, both like physically, visually, etc., but also of the like, I could buy that this person could maybe not save the day because she's so fucking unreliable. So like, there is a real possibility here that this doesn't go well, and it does make you feel that tension in your body while you're watching it. And I think that's incredible filmmaking.
Yeah, and it comes right on the heels of the dinner scene, and then the scene where they're like kind of angrily like flirting. And the dinner, to me, it's just like, man, if you just cut the dinner scene and you go into this sequence, it would be like it would have made the film so much better, I guess. I don't know.
Nobody's mentioned it so far, but like, I don't want to throw this out into the ether here, but Kate Capshaw did end up marrying Steven Spielberg. Do we think that has anything to do with this, or was it already a poorly written character before they met?
I don't think the writing improves by marrying the director. You know what I mean? Like the writing is still shit regardless. But is it play a part in her casting?
Oh yeah,
very likely.
Or maybe whether of any of her scenes get cut, or whether any of her lines get cut. Just throwing it out there.
Sure.
And they're happily married. Good for them.
I do think that Steve was married, and then he met Kate, and then So.
Okay.
To your point,
shit went down.
To your point, Lamar, I don't think that.
Ooh, Joe bringing the tea to the pot. I like
Jerry. For what it's worth, though, I did like her running around the jungle screaming at every animal that showed up. Like, I think that scene of all the... I told Janelle, I was like, this is part of her character. It feels like you're watching a stand-up comic bomb, because they were like, let's just give her a comic relief line of dialogue every 90 seconds to break up the film, and let's make her funny. And none of it lands. And you're just sitting there awkwardly after every joke. But
it's actually funnier because... Indy and Short Round are completely unbothered. So her overreaction and
when they're playing their poker game,
she's basically like an early written version of Jar Jar Binks.
How does this keep coming up for us, Lamar? Like, how does this is Jar Jar Binks has come up with us for us in like 3 different movies.
George Lucas was like, I'm onto something here. I'm gonna keep chasing this high.
What if we made Jar Jar?
If we just make it in the right form, it's gonna land. You know, so at some point it's gonna land. No, I like Lamar knows this about me. I like sort of live tweet movies as I watch them to formulate my notes, and I have in quick succession. I'm Team Elephant. Is she really perfuming the elephant? She's such a caricature. And then immediately after that, is this a cartoon? Am I watching a cartoon? And this is all her like running around the jungle and being her most caricature self for sure. But I love the juxtaposition of them just playing poker and like fucking ignoring her. That part, that lands. That's
because that's the 2 guys you're interested in. I don't care about her. Sorry. I want to see more Short Round stuff.
I don't want to be the person who doesn't care about the woman in this movie, but she's like not written well. She's not intriguing. Let me just watch these 2 homies.
Yep. And that adorable scene, like to Greg's point earlier, that's the one that they had Ke Huy Quan improvise with Harrison Ford when they were like, this might be the kid out of these 6,000 people auditioning in China for this role. Like, they improvised that scene, and then you see it on film and how adorable it is, and their dynamic is so cool. It's no wonder he got that role.
Yeah, it totally lands 100%. I think one of the things, like, I just want to backpedal really quickly. I think that the otherism and the exoticism is one of the biggest problems for me in this movie. And it shows up here, it shows up later, it shows up in the dinner, it shows up in the sacrifices, it shows up over and over and over. And one of the things that bugs me about it is like British colonialism is shown as an annoyance, but to the bad guys, right? So inherently kind of a good thing, right? And then they come up as the heroes later as well. And then I think also they have, again, othered and over dramatized, like actual parts of Hindu culture. Like Kali is an actual goddess in Hindu culture and is someone that is revered and admired. And the Thuggee was like a possibly manufactured by British colonial soldiers to, again, other and villainize Indian people. So like, if you look at the historic background of this, it's really problematic the whole time you watch it. And when you watch it as a kid, you're like, it's just an action film and it like lands or it doesn't land. But rewatching it, I was just like, this is so fucking problematic. Like every other scene is so problematic the whole time for me that I was like, how do people even work on these films and watch this happen on screen? And I just think, again, I think it's to your point, Joe, earlier of like, is this just something that's happening at the time? It was all too common, but it was really hard on rewatch for me to see all of that.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
That's, and I think really, even like Mackenzie, that's like super deep. I just want to transition from that and say I really like the part where he hangs him on the ceiling fan. I think that part's fucking
awesome. What kind of fan was that?
It was cool though.
I'm sorry, Mackenzie, you have like outsmarted the entire classroom, and we're all like, "Yeah, dude, fucking."
So how about when he hangs the dude and kills the guy in front of short round?
We're not getting more highbrow than that, Mackenzie. Sorry,
but somebody needed to say it.
Sorry,
somebody did need to go into that.
This is what I bring to the podcast, y'all. I just nerd out, and then we got to like bring it back, you know. So I will say, I was wondering how the fan thing worked. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit like, would that really do that? Would he just like straight up with
the physics in general of this? Of how water works when it's rushing down this tunnel toward them, and they go in another tunnel, and the water just continues.
And the water just chooses one tunnel.
That can't go both ways.
That's not my favorite tunnel. I don't want to go that way. You know, this is the better tunnel for sure.
I mean, once they get into the secret lair, this movie is good.
That's when the movie transitions. Yeah. And I think here's my theory, because I said this at the beginning. As a kid, I love this a lot more. As an adult, much less so. When it turns into a horror movie, I really enjoy it. And that's when a lot of that takes place, of the heart getting ripped out and them sneaking around and the bugs and all this. As a kid, those are the parts that I remembered. And now rewatching, and I'm like, it's such a chore to get there.
So they sneak into that cave, right? And they see like that dark ritual happening where they're sacrificing the guy. And like, you've got all those people that are kind of just on their knees, like kind of zombied out, watching it happen. It feels very much like a church service of sorts, but at the same time, it makes me wonder, because we see the whole execution, and it makes me wonder, how long was this gathering before we walked up? Like, how much time was wasted here?
Yeah.
Or were they just like right up to it, like, hey guys, 11 a.m. we will be doing an execution. 11 a.m. and everyone has to like clock out and go watch the execution. I'm sorry, I'm just getting into like the scheduling, the technicalities of it here.
They're definitely into the ceremony of it all. Yeah.
Because they bring people back later. They're doing like an 11 a.m. and then a 1 p.m. service as well.
I mean, I was raised Catholic. That's what they do. You know, there's a 10 a.m., there's a 12 p.m., there's a, like, you know, you gotta wander in and out.
There's a Saturday 5 o'clock, 5 mass.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
so like, you know that at each one of these services, someone's getting sacrificed.
Yes. So they're doing maybe a couple. Like, they're really committed to the sacrifice. They want to make sure he gets to see the show.
What's your quarterly appraisal look like? How's your rock breaking been going?
I was gonna say, I love how the energy that everyone brings to rave night at the Temple of Doom, and the professionals there are in great moods. When you look, you know, the guy ripping the heart out, he's smiling the whole time. The guy turning the wheel, lowering him into the lava, big smile on his face. It's like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That is the philosophy in the Temple of Doom.
I just want to know more about the work culture. You know, I mean, it seems like they must have really great benefits, or I don't know, but
it must be, man.
This is something that we could learn from, is all I'm saying. With that being said, Mola Ram's a weak bad guy.
Okay.
He's poorly.
I was just going to ask, do we meet him before they see?
No, this is the first time we meet him.
No, he just shows up midway. We have no exposition about who this guy is and why he fucking matters.
Because some of the guys at the dinner are also downstairs, right? But not Mola. Okay.
Chittar is downstairs, and he's one of the ones who has the immediate conflict with Indy. And again, if you were to write this better, like, he would be the person who is the high priest of whatever, trying to instigate these ceremonies. And all of a sudden, you have this rando that we're supposed to be afraid of. And I would find it much more compelling if it's Chittar coming in, like, okay, I'm fucking doubled down. And the Maharaja is there too. So you're like, both of these people are integral to this, and they were just saving face in this dinner, you know? Like, it's just not well written. Yeah.
Good call, Greg. The heart ribbon scene was like
character.
A big...
Joe just made a noise. Joe made a bad noise.
I mean, that was like a big playground thing, right?
He does this. He's about to cook on this guy, is all I'm saying.
Well, it's just interesting that it is like such a lazy thing where they're like, it's almost like they weren't sure where to go. And they're like, look, we kind of wrote a lot of this. Production started in a couple weeks. Let's just make the heart thing the big reason why you're supposed to dislike this guy. We don't need to talk about his motivation or what he really means to the group or why he's doing this.
Right.
We don't want to go into that. We kind of fucking wasted some time with Kate Capshaw screaming, and there's a lot of jungle stuff. We don't want to cut that because she's dating Steven now, so that's staying in. Let's just go right for the heart rip, and then the audience will be shocked, horrified, and they will immediately hate Mola Ram, which I guess you'd kind of
what could make what could make you hate him more? Maybe I know.
Try to kill Short Round.
We'll enslave children and whip them. Oh, all right. Everyone can stand up for kids and heart ripping.
Yeah, and
that is so hard to see in this. I just have to say, like, watching the kids, like, slavery in all forms is bad. Don't get it twisted. But like children, and they have been stolen from these villages.
That's how your iPhone is
oh my god! Okay. I don't have an iPhone. I'm an Androider.
Yeah, maybe
Android for life, bitch.
Those are South Korean, I think.
I'm just saying, we don't enslave children to make our phones. Just saying. But don't fact check me on that because I don't know. But I'm just saying, that is so hard to watch in this, and I love though this. Like, segue from that, I love that Short Round becomes like the hero of the kids too, though. Like, he's number one awesome and a hero in general, but I love that he gets to be like the representative hero of the kiddos here, the way that
he's awesome, but else. I don't love that it becomes like a Three Ninjas child fighting. I never love kids beating up adults, no matter what the genre of film is, when it's so...
Wait,
I love Three Ninjas, but just it's so hard to like suspend disbelief.
See, I was going to go the other way. I was literally going to say before you said that, Lemar, why can't I get a Short Round movie where it's not a kid's movie?
Because he's an adult now.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I mean, you can.
But like, usually...
Great, we don't need you coming in with reality, okay? Usually, I don't need to hear it.
My apologies.
You guys ever seen Cloak and Dagger?
No.
Greg, I know you've seen Cloak and Dagger. No? Oh my God. Team.
You're on an island. Holy here,
shit.
Joe.
Did we abandon you?
No, I just figured everybody saw it because I saw it like 50 times as a kid. Cloak and Dagger has the E.T. kid. I don't know his name. Henry Thomas, maybe?
That sounds about right.
He's a couple years older. He's probably like 10, 12.
It is Henry Thomas.
He's like 12 years old in this movie, and it's like an espionage movie that is very much child-driven, but it's like a PG-13, like hard PG-13 movie that's kind of an action movie. And you, Lemar, I got to tell you, there are parts of it where you're like, I kind of buy this, that this kid's doing this.
He's straight up holding a gun in this still frame from that. Like, he will fuck you up. I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I want more of it.
Well, I mean, a child with a gun fighting adults is different than a child doing karate on adults. I'm just saying.
I mean, he's kicking him in the nuts.
Also
that counts for something.
Like, he's like, he has antics. He has tools. He's like using levies and, weaponry. I don't know. I sort of buy it. Maybe I just want to buy it.
Let's spin from that, though, into other things where I just found it silly in this film. This is one of the reasons why I didn't love this on rewatch, was I don't love Indy just shrugging off the boulder getting crunched over his head, and then he just sort of stands up and grabs a different boulder and hits the guy with it. Like, it just, there's things every time where I saw a visual effect and went, holy shit, that's for 84, that's incredible. The like raft flotation device falling out of the sky, inflating. I'm like, that's fucking, every time something like that happened, 60 seconds later, there was a visual effect where I went, oh, that was really bad.
Oh, see?
The bridge sequence, the collapse is great, but when the bodies start falling and it's clearly fake things falling toward the water, just...
Oh, I don't... See, that's so interesting. I completely agree with you. I will overlook that, no problem, to watch a jacked Harrison Ford with one sleeve missing, swinging along with the big hook, kicking people, and then jumping into that, whatever, the mining cart. Like, I'm like, oh, this is all I need. You're right. The green screen, not great, but I can overlook that. Very interesting. Okay.
For context, I was in my notes, Mr. Ford with like heart eyes.
Super jacked in this.
I will watch that.
Always looks good.
All day. Like, he looks...
Definitely knew he was going to be shirtless a lot. Clearly did a lot of working out.
Oh, for sure. Like, half of Indiana Jones is like, how do we get Harrison Ford with his shirt off? And I was here for it. 100%.
Do we know if they did like a closed set for that, where it was like he was feeling insecure?
I think he was feeling great about it. He is Indiana Jones at this point. I'm going to be honest with you.
Think about.
He's like, I know.
He's also Han Solo. which is like pretty amazing.
Exactly.
You know? Guy's like an iconic.
This is
two different universes.
I believe it was well known that Harrison Ford was a company man during Star Wars, whereas Mark Hamill was playing hardball with contracts. And so Harrison Ford basically is the one that got the nod for all these extra movies, and his career blew up. Whereas Mark Hamill was like, I mean, what else did he do? What was that? Beastmaster? Was he in that?
He was in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is a great motion picture.
A ton of voice work. Let's not talk shit about Mark Hamill.
He did the Joker. But if you compare his career to Harrison Ford,
well, Greg,
Harrison Ford was much more.
He also doesn't look like Harrison Ford.
Well, he's Han Solo. He does Blade Runner. He does Indiana Jones. Like, yes, it does not compare.
Mark Hamill's also more boyish. Yeah. Like, I feel like Harrison Ford is the much more viable action star than Mark Hamill.
Don't poke holes in my argument, Lemar.
Listen, he was a carpenter before all of this, is what y'all need to know. And I mean, he built those muscles in an honest way.
I did read,
doing honest
Mackenzie,
work.
I got to burst your bubble a little bit. I did read that.
Steroids?
No.
Steroids,
but he was very much aware. He's very much like an athletic guy, but he did prepare because they were like, hey, listen, dude, the last 25 minutes of this movie, you're probably like not having a shirt on. So he like worked out a lot.
I need you to just tell me that this is just pure carpentry and wholesomeness.
He looked in some ways.
Harrison Ford just looking beautiful.
He does look great.
Like, why can't you just let me have that?
Yeah. My big issue is when they capture everyone, they've got Short Round in chains, and they give him like a
pickaxe,
a pickaxe.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be digging for the Shankar stone, and he's like, "Nah, bitch, I'm gonna break out of these chains."
Which
they basically give him a tool to break the chains. They say, but don't do that. Just break rocks.
Yeah.
So
which like a bunch of those kids didn't think of. So I'm just saying.
They're not short rounds. He's one. I think we got a point.
Now I get why India didn't want this movie filmed there. We're making our kids look fucking stupid.
I think we got to point out the guy, Greg, who is the big overseer, who I think
the big ass beard,
who I think whips Short Round and ends up having the fight with Indy when he gets sucked into the rock
later. Yes,
there's like a nod to the first movie in that fight.
It's the same guy. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, that actor, that stuntman, is in 2 scenes in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The bar scene, he's the guy that the guy when they're fighting, the one German's like shoot them both.
Mm-hmm.
So that's him. He's also the huge Nazi with the mustache, no shirt, who Indy fights in front of the plane. And he's also this guy.
I feel like you can kind of
tell. I think you can tell.
I thought you were going to say that he was.
I think you can tell. Like, you're like, oh, there he is again.
Talk about versatility, though. He can play a Nazi soldier or an Indian henchman. That's incredible.
Stunt is for the win, y'all. Like, they are. Ugh.
I thought that you were going to mention. Incredible. So there's a scene where like Indy reaches for his revolver.
Oh, that too. Yeah,
because the guy's got like a big sword. Mm-hmm. And then he reaches for the revolver, but it's not there. And that's like a nod to the first movie where the whole sword thing happens and Indy just pulls out the gun and shoots him and the fight's over.
Mm-hmm.
That also is a nod.
We talked about that during, was it the Catch Me If You Can episode, Mackenzie? Where the screenwriter of that, his inspiration for becoming a screenwriter was seeing that scene. Cool. So that's, everything's full circle.
That's a great Spielberg. I'm an action movie guy. Once Indy is free, first of all, when Short Round has to burn him.
I agree.
First of all, when he backhands Short Round, you're like, oh my God.
But he says, I love you. Oh my God, I know. I have that in my notes. He's like, a fucking hit Short Round in all caps.
It's just crushing. But he does burn him, which, how did he figure that out? I guess he just like need to shock him out of it.
Oh, there's a cut scene.
Oh, Greg, go into
that
this.
Was supposed to be there.
God, guys, this is why Greg is good.
When not because I like Fast and the Furious.
That's a strike against you.
Yeah, actually, this is why he's hired. Otherwise, he would be fired for Fast and the Furious. Got it.
Fast and the Furious 3, there's this scene where they're watching Indiana Jones, and it's the extended version with the cut scenes in it.
Jesus Christ.
And so in this scene, Short Round's shackled, and one of the kids is basically like they force these kids to drink like this Four Loko that zombifies you or something.
Anyways, sleep, guys.
That's right.
The dark sleep. Anyways, some lava gets near him and basically burns him, and it wakes him up. And so Short Round is given the clue that fire can wake you up from this. So that's how he knew to do that. But they cut it because of weird
because
pacing.
they realized they didn't need logic in this movie. Like,
also, I think the True Love's burn works better.
Oh, wow.
That was my consensus. Is
That's
like
way
not
too deep.
fuck True Love's kiss. Like True Love's burn. Like he loves the shit out of that man. He just burns him awake, and it's good. Like that was fine for me. That
when
was
he's
fine
like
for
Indy,
me.
my friend, I love it. Love it.
I like it because it's like, you know, family, you know.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, I was gonna say I'm backing Mackenzie on this because that would imply that whatever him and Willie have is not true love because she's trying to caress him and stuff, and he's like, no, you're being sacrificed.
Off to the lava pit with you.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about that. He's like, that's fine, whatever.
But then we get some great fights.
I wanted
save her
to,
though.
like...
Let's give him credit. You know, he does try to get her out of there.
He
so
did try.
Good.
He trapped the guy in the spokes of the wheel, which was cool for a while. That was cool.
I actually weirdly loved that moment.
Like
I was like, I just love that it crushed
between your bike tire. Yeah,
it was like small but impactful for me. I was like, I love. Fuck that guy.
I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, that final sequence, to your point, Joe, like the last 20 to 30 minutes of action beats are pretty fucking solid. I love the minecart sequence. Even all physics,
it does go a little long,
questionable, like minecarts jumping off the track and exploding. Like all that aside, it is really
just the log that's like bracing and like stops them on the tracks as well. I love that. The one thing I didn't love though about that sequence was that when Short Round just sort of like they're battling to get Short Round back from them when they're grabbing from them, and they're battling over and over to try and get him back, and they're having a really hard time. And then all of a sudden, right before the split, he just like leans back. It's just like all of a sudden he's figured it out, and you're like, okay, like that didn't quite work for me. And a couple of the tilts where like you can tell they're practical effects, but it's like definitely a mannequin, you know, because like the way that they move or whatever. So there were a couple little things there for me that didn't quite land, but on the whole, I do love that whole chase. Because I have a need for speed.
Camera work,
you know,
too during that. Like I like the close-ups where it's shaky cam on the corner and you're seeing their faces within the cart. Like that really builds the tension there.
Yeah, and I think that there's another thing that comes up in these movies a lot where in the middle of an action sequence, you either think that Indy's winning or he's figured something out, and it immediately doesn't work. Like he's like, get up on, work the brake, slow us down, and as soon as he does that, the brake handle breaks. So
it doesn't work. It doesn't
work.
Like
something else to do.
We get that kind of cartoony comic thing where his foot's on fire. Water.
Oh my god, yes, water.
The dialogue has a good payoff, but that's a bit that I feel like again,
it's too jokey.
It's just like Hook. It's half kids movie, half adult movie, and that's definitely for the kiddos.
Yeah, that was a little cheesy for me.
Yeah, this bridge scene is
incredible. Even the gators.
I was going to say, I love the gators turning over and over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do the spin, so they're not fucking around. The gators.
I was like, I really wanted to know, and I did not do a deep dive on this, but I should have. I was like, what did they give them? Because they are fucking leaned in, like they are twisting all over the place. They're having a great time. I thought that was so fun how they showed that every time.
I mean, prepare to meet Kali in hell. Great line. Pretty sick.
Fuck yes. Yes. I love that he's willing to just even do the thing to begin with. Again, like this is why you love Indy to begin with, right? Like he's the only person who will chop a whole fucking bridge in half and fall half down a canyon over a river of crocodiles. Like he's the only one that will do this. And that's what you're here for. And he does it. And you're like, the payoff is so sweet. But it's a very, again, the tension, it's a very tense few minutes. You know, in theory, he's going to get out of it, but it still has that ability to like just rile you up and make you feel tense during the whole thing, and gets you these great shots of the crocs and all of that. The only thing I don't love is that there are a couple moments, I agree with Lemar, of where the visual effects down the canyon as people are falling, those don't still work anymore. I'm sorry to say. But I think the scene on the whole is still a really fun
I've got
scene,
a deep cut theory though on one of those, because I thought it was weird that there's a point where he is out climbing Indy and then he catches up to one of his own henchmen and throws him down to try and knock Indy. He misses. The guy clearly falls down into the river, but then we cut back to Mola Ram and he's smiling. My theory is that was his son-in-law. And he was like, I just want this guy to die. This is my chance. So he's like, this is a win either way. He wasn't even aiming for Indy. That's my theory.
This is the backstory I was here for.
You dug deep for that one. I'll give you that.
Greg, if this was our podcast, my hard moment would have been the Kali line.
Oh, yeah?
Nice. Wait, explain that to the listeners. Explain the hard moment to people, because it is a fun one.
We just have a thing where we like, if something's like intense or cool or moving, it's like, that's hard.
That's fucking hard.
A hard moment.
So for me, like when he's like prepared to meet Kali,
I feel like
hard. That's what I said.
Yeah. He even does the, like, again, the Harrison Ford, like, gritty, like, line delivery and the wide eyes and, like, I will fuck you up. And, like, again, why he's an action hero over, like, a Mark Hamill. Like, vascular.
And he's got, like, he's got that bag with, like, those baked potato rocks that are starting to, like, overcook.
Yeah.
We end the bridge scene, and Indiana Jones saves the day. He brings all the kids home to the village, and the kids are enslaved and doing manual labor. Did anyone else catch that as the camera's panning out for the rolling credits, that we get a scene of one of those kids now doing manual labor to turn the wheel for the water?
It's muscle memory, man. It's in his DNA now.
Was I the only one that caught that? I was like, hold on, he just saved him, and they're like, cool, now get back to work in your village.
I did not catch that.
I did not catch that. I did notice how much more vibrant the village already was before the kids came back.
I pointed that out was what they say.
We
knew you were coming back because we were already. That must be fucking nice.
Hey, but it was like all of a sudden your fabrics are pink and purple and orange, and all of a sudden like everything is better. You haven't actually made it back yet, and everything is just prettier and better. And I was like, okay.
One thing that is kind of nice. Sorry,
that shaman that is like in charge of the village. He doesn't actually speak English.
I know.
Like he speaks English in the movie, but basically he's speaking it phonetically because they just wrote down the words to say. Because
Steven Spielberg was saying it to him, and then he would repeat it back, and like that's why there's such long pauses.
Yeah,
he was like, they're like, it's not a pause for effect.
Yeah. So that dude doesn't actually speak English. He was just basically in his mind, he's just making sounds as to what Spielberg said.
Which I think is
works.
Really cool.
It fucking works.
This movie's kind of regressive on a lot of fronts. I think we agree, correct?
Yeah.
There's one thing in this movie that's not.
All right.
There's one thing that's not, and I need to point it out because the other indie movies somewhat do this. The child labor thing, actually, no. There's a lot of parts of his.
It's not so bad. Kids need to work too. Learn some values.
Children crave the minds.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of times in these.
I can say that because it's on your podcast, but if you come to Prime Cut, I'd be like, oh,
terrible.
I said that during there's a semi-famous tweet on Reddit now where it was like somebody saying we took kids out of the mines in like the 1920s, and now in 2020 the most popular game is Minecraft. The children, they yearn for the mines.
Oh my God.
I think Temple of Doom is ahead of the curve here.
What was I saying? Oh, sorry. There's a lot of no, I got it now. I'm back. There's times where in these movies where Indy's like, this artifact that I'm seeking, this MacGuffin, Coronado's cross, the golden head in Raiders of the Lost Ark, this belongs in a museum.
Fortune and glory.
Right? Yeah, this belongs in a museum.
But here,
exactly, Mackenzie. He's like, this doesn't need to be in a museum. This should be here. Which for a movie that is really backwards, that is like the one thing that it gets right here, where it's like, really, these cultures that were harvesting their artifacts for us to look at, they should just be part of their culture still. And this movie thinks that.
Preach, Joe, preach. I'm so glad you brought that up because I was so excited for that moment where I was like, yes, like that is the cool, most progressive. He was like, where? Sit in a museum where it's going to collect dust? Like it means nothing to those people. It means everything to these people. And I like give those artifacts back to their people. I so agree with that. That's one of the good ones for sure.
Lemar, you were having us rate. What is your system? I don't know.
Yes, I was going to say.
We have a different system.
Well, we're at a 10. We're out of 10 is what we say. But I would love for you guys to do what is your category that you would put it in based on guys' rating? I want you to do both is what I'm saying.
What do you think?
I think that this is a flawed gem.
I agree. And I was thinking, because I thought that pretty early on in this, and I was like holding that in my back pocket. I would put this in if this is a flawed gem, but what is like the step down from a gem? Not a diamond.
A flawed turd?
I was thinking more of like
a couple steps
the
below
jewelry era.
Oh, all right. So this is a flawed cubic zirconium.
There you go. Perfect. This is a flawed CZ. It's not real. It's not a real gem. There are definitely some flaws, but there's also some good stuff in here. Short round makes
it's
this
like
movie.
You would pierce your belly button with this. It might be a little rusty, but like it's
not an engagement ring.
Is
maybe.
it surgical steel? Not surgical steel. It's got lots of nickel in it.
So it's a flawed cubic zirconium. And if we're going out of 10, we do 10? That's really boggling my mind, Greg. We do 5. We can do 10 here.
I mean, there's probably a simple mathematical formula you can follow.
This is
I feel like we could convert it for you.
Rate it out of 5 and I'll help you.
I don't even like to do points, really. I just go flat rate. I'm going 7.
So, rate it out of 5, Joe.
If I was going 5, it's like a 3. It's a 2.
Wow,
I don't know. I just love Short Round and Indy in this movie. I want to just hang out with those two guys, but there's not enough of it, so it's probably a 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Joe. I think it's like, and if I were to rate all the indie movies, this one falls right in the middle of them. The newest 2 are the worst ones. And as far as the original trilogy, this is the worst of the original trilogy.
I agree.
Yes, I agree. Totally. Yeah, I think I would give it like out of 10, which is what we normally do. I would do like a 5.5 or a 6, which is maybe one of the harshest things I've done in a hot minute. But it just, there's so much shit that does not hold up for me and is really controversial. And I wanted them to write it better. You know, like the sequences again are really fun, cool to watch, and like you're so rooting for Indy and Short Round and all these characters that are great, but there are equal amounts of characters that suck and you don't want to watch and you don't need all the exposition. And yeah, I think it's like it's definitely of the trilogy the worst, even out of the later 2. Oh, it gives Crystal Skull a run for its money. For me on rewatch. So yeah, I think like 5.5, 6 on the high end.
Well, I'm pleasantly relieved that you guys all rated it so low because I thought I was going to be the asshole today coming in. And
I mean, you are the asshole, but continue.
Facts, solid facts, it's science. But like coming into this and saying this might be my least favorite Spielberg of the ones I've seen, especially on a rewatch of just, I really only enjoyed half of the movie. I think it really struggles from the visual effects are great for 1984, but it's like half and half of how much of them are great and how much of them have not aged well. I think I really only end up enjoying 50% of this movie when it becomes more of a horror. I think not having a real antagonist until halfway into the movie also hurts it. There's just a lot of suspension where you're making this adventure film that is partially aimed at kids, partially for adults, and there's no point in drawing any logic whatsoever to it. Again, it's about as high as I would rate any Fast and Furious film, which they're fun, but they are not good motion pictures. So yeah, I'll go 5.5.
What I think is really incredible here is if Short Round is not in this movie and it is not a Spielberg movie that has his touch, this has a potential for like a 0 out of 10, potentially, I think.
Yeah. It could have been much worse.
There's a lot of stuff here that like, if it's not a Spielberg thing,
could have gone awry. Yeah.
So, which when I look at his filmography, I just am continually like impressed. I know this is your month, but holy shit, guys, Steven Spielberg, he does stuff that I don't like, but then he does 5
but you can
that are amazing.
Yep.
But even in the stuff you don't like, and I will just say this over and over, is like there's something creative, there's something nuanced, there's something wholly Spielberg about the things that even the ones that you don't like. And that's the thing that I do like, that I can tell that it's him. I do like that I can tell the creativity about it. I do like that there are hallmarks of Spielberg work, even when I don't love it every single time. And this is one of those where like I can have a good time at the parts where I really love and respect the things that he does really well, but there are absolutely things that I don't think land, and that's okay too. But I think we can respect him as a filmmaker on the whole, because to your point earlier, he will take some fucking risks and he will do some cool shit and it doesn't always pay off, but he is forever and always a filmmaker who is like trying to test some boundaries of both his own work and like film work in general. And that I respect.
Yeah. And I think there's stuff about, I don't think it's as cut and dry as what I'm about to say, but so bear with me here. I do think sometimes directors fall into like primarily like two categories, which are like artist, storyteller, master technician. And some of them can do parts of those things. Like I can be a master technician and I can still have like some storytelling, or I can still do some, you know, world building, but still be technical. But I feel like they're like on polar opposites. If you're really good at one, you can do a couple of the other things, but you're not a master. To me, Spielberg is a master of both. Yeah. He is technically like the Omaha Beach scene at Saving Private Ryan is technically like amazing from an action standpoint and like logistics and storytelling. But he can do that, and then he can also do Jurassic Park or Schindler's List or with the drama, and it's just he's unbelievable.
Or even the Fablemans, which is something that I think I only call that out because it's really it's kind of his life story, and that can be really hard to do when you're telling your own story. And I think he does it in a way that's still in his style and very nostalgic, but also honors the story and is also a really strong piece of filmmaking, even if people think it's like a little too saccharine or whatever. I think he has such range, and I think that's been the theme over the month. Like this is the last entry of the month for us on the pod, and I think that that's my takeaway, is that he can do a lot of very different styles of filmmaking very, very well, because he has his foot in both of those camps that you mentioned: the technicality, the understanding of what it takes to physically make a really good film, but also the emotionality of telling a story that people give a shit about. And not every filmmaker has both of those, and he does in a way that others do not. And that's why we're talking about him.
There's a lot of directors who have a single 10 film and then a lot of 6s.
Yep.
Spielberg is consistently, even though I rated this like a 5.5 or 6, whatever it was, consistently, he's probably between a 7 and 9 on everything that he does. So
I agree. And I think that there's stuff where I feel like, okay, he is able to balance, like, all right, like if I look at his contemporary, like Scorsese, he does different stuff. Goodfellas and Silence are two very different movies, but they are kind of similar, and they have similar themes and they have similar constructions. Whereas you look at Spielberg and you're like, he made Schindler's List, which is one of the most upsetting, moving,
profound, upsetting,
incredibly necessary films. And then he made Catch Me If You Can, which is like a caper movie, and it's super fun, and there's some family stuff in there, and there's some heaviness to it, but it's like, this person should not be able to make both of those.
There's sentimentality. There's and that's the thing that I love about, again, his range is so profound. It's really impressive, the things that he can do with these very different genres, and that, again, he's brave enough to explore. And he's not just interested in one or the other. That is very intriguing to me. He's interested in all of them and testing his own boundaries and his own skills. And I think that's what makes him such an interesting watch, regardless of if it lands every single time.
I just like that all of his movies are based on true stories.
Dinosaurs.
I mean,
dinosaurs are real.
That's probably the best one. I mean, dinosaurs were real at one point.
You guys got to listen to our Jurassic Park ep where I shred the inaccuracy.
The thing is, we pointed this out at the beginning, was that we're all about 2 to 3 drinks deep at this point, and Greg said that, and I went, "Wait, are they?" Like that fuck Haley Joel Osment was a robot the whole time.
These are all true stories.
Okay.
Anyway, so do you guys want to plug your pod one more time as we wrap up?
Tell us your spiel.
Prime Cut Podcast. We go below the surface a little, Greg. I don't know. How would you say we're not looking for A+. We like a B- movie.
Yeah, we're looking for movies that are good that maybe you aren't as aware of, or maybe they just skipped by. So, for instance, Christopher Nolan, everybody knows him for The Dark Knight, Inception, but what was that other movie that?
Tenet.
No, that
bad.
What was the other movie?
Prestige, baby. We covered Prestige.
Prestige.
So that one was it's a great movie, but maybe you missed it. So if you want to look for some movies like that.
Deep cuts, flawed gems, forgotten masterpieces. Prime Cut Podcast.
Yeah. So we've got an episode coming out where Joe and I are picking movies that are widely loved that we both hate. Now we both created a list of 5 separate from each other. And our producer
Can you
Mark,
please send me that list? Because I have so many questions.
You already know what one of them is based on a lot of our discussion today, guys. One of my lists.
I just feel like I could resonate with these lists.
You guys did a much better job this time of summarizing your podcast than we did at the beginning when you just said
we might
the
just
name
cut
of
that
your podcast
we
on
might
Instagram,
ask you
TikTok,
twice.
and email.
Yes.
That was very convincing. This is much better.
The Prime Cut Podcast.
But on our end, y'all, make sure to follow us. We drink and we watch things on Instagram, TikTok. We got reels coming to you normally weekly if I'm feeling up to it, and I'm doing my best. That's all you can expect. But yeah, feel free to email us as well. We drink and we watch things pod@gmail.com. We got a new theme coming at you next month. I think we're doing all classic films at Mackenzie's request.
No, demand. Great. I've been trying for over a year to make this man watch a single fucking classic film, and he won't. And I am so excited for the struggle bus for Lemar that will be this December, which is all classic films. I'm going to let him have choices, y'all, but he has a set list that he is allowed to choose from.
Classic.
Lemar, if it's black and white, are you like immediately throwing up, or can you can?
No, I'm not as what's the word adverse as I pretend to be. I have no I've seen Citizen Kane, but I've never seen Casablanca. I've never seen Gone with the Wind. So I'm open to it. But I just like in The Wizard of Oz when everything goes from black and white to color. That's like a core memory of mine.
Lemar, the writing, we're going to fight for a month. It's fine. Anyway, for now, though, thank you for joining us. And thank you, Prime Cut, for joining us. This was a great time. Once again, can't wait to have you guys back and vice versa. This has been a great time. But for now, cheers.
Cheers. Mine's empty.
Have a drink and go watch a thing. Cheers.
I made 9 of these.
Too. I made 2 drinks and I blew through
a new record. 9 on one podcast. Goddamn.